You never forget the exact moment your reality fractures. For me, it was a Thursday morning in early autumn. I remember because the light through the kitchen window was just soft enough to make the countertops gleam like polished obsidian. I was standing there, coffee in hand, watching my wife of 13 years adjust her ring light. That damned ring light. It had become a new fixture in our home. One of many changes that snuck in gradually, like ivy through a cracked window. At first, I told myself it was harmless. A creative outlet. A hobby. Something to keep her busy now that the kids were in school full-time and she'd cut back her work hours. But over time, it became more than that. More than I could ignore. Her name was Harper. Or at least that's what her followers knew her as. Harper Dale, the modern love muse, she called herself. On screen, she was warm, witty, unapologetically evolved, and full of curated wisdom on polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, and conscious communication. In reality, well, reality was what I was trying to find again. That morning, as I stood just out of frame, she tapped her phone screen, checked her angle, and leaned into her microphone like she was whispering secrets to the universe. "Good morning, beautiful souls," she purred, smiling with practiced intimacy. "I'm so excited to share something transformative with you today. Something that could change the way you see love. Forever." She wore that cobalt blue workout top again. The one she'd randomly picked up last month. The same one I'd seen her wear to the gym with a man she swore was just someone from CrossFit. His name had slipped into our conversations like a drop of poison into wine. Tyson. Harper claimed they weren't close. Said he was part of a larger fitness group. Said it with just enough indifference to make me suspicious. She talked for a while longer about shedding monogamous conditioning, about giving your partner the freedom to evolve. The comments on her stream flooded in fast. "Yas, queen. You're literally saving marriages with this. Your husband is so evolved." That last one made me clench my jaw so hard I heard my molars creak. I stood by the coffee maker and listened, the scent of French roast rising around me like steam from a war trench. I watched her through the reflection on the refrigerator door, her hands fluttering like she was conducting a sermon, her voice syrupy with conviction. And then she said it. "I just had the most amazing conversation with my husband about opening up our relationship. He's so thoughtful, so open-minded. I'm truly blessed." That was the moment, the exact second my heart stepped off a ledge and free fell. Because we hadn't had a conversation. Not about opening anything. We hadn't had a real conversation about anything in weeks, aside from whose turn it was to pick up the kids or which groceries we were low on. She hadn't spoken to me about polyamory. She hadn't asked. She hadn't even hinted. And yet, here she was, talking to 20,000 strangers like I had given her a green light to dismantle our marriage under the noble banner of modern love. I walked into frame without warning. Just stepped into her shot, coffee in hand. Her eyes widened. Her smile faltered. The chat went wild. "OMG, is that your husband? He's hot. Couple goals." And then I said it, loud and clear. "Since we're being transparent with your audience, why don't you tell them about Tyson?" The silence was deafening. Her face froze. Not the dramatic pause kind of freeze, the kind that comes with sheer, blood-draining panic. "Wah, I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, still trying to salvage the moment. Like a ship captain casually denying the iceberg she'd already struck. The comments lit up with confusion, speculation, disbelief. Someone's screen recorded the whole thing. "Oh, I think you do," I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. I think part of me had left my body. "Your audience loves open conversations, right? So let's have one. Let's talk about Tyson, about hotel rooms, about deleted messages, about how ethical non-monogamy only works when both people actually know what the hell is going on." She reached for her phone, fingers fumbling to end the live stream, but the damage was already done. I walked out of the frame, but not before turning and adding, "By the way, I signed up for your next workshop. I've got a few questions of my own I'd love to ask. In front of your followers." Behind me, I heard the sound of her ring light clatter to the floor, and just like that, the illusion she'd spent months building began to crack. The story I'm about to tell you is not just about betrayal. It's about surveillance, documentation, strategy, and the quiet, surgical kind of revenge you only pull off when you've already accepted that the person you loved never really existed. Because I'm not just a husband. I'm a systems architect. And if there's one thing I understand better than anyone, it's how to trace every lie to its source and burn the entire network down. You'd think betrayal would feel like fire, like something sharp and instant. A stab, a burn, a scream in the dark. But for me, it started like a whisper, a shift in weight, a glance that lasted 1 second too long. And it began, as most stories of modern betrayal do, with a notification. 3 weeks before the ring light incident, I got a text from our friend Lena. Nothing dramatic. Just, "Hey Cal, is Harper in a new book club?" I ran into her at Perch and Bean Cafe this morning with some people I didn't recognize. Thought she said her club still meets at Zoe's place? I remember staring at that message for a long time. Not answering. Not breathing. Because Harper had told me that very morning, "Book club, same as always. Don't wait up, we'll probably get deep into the reading again." I didn't respond to Lena right away. I just closed the message, got up from my desk, and walked to the kitchen. The dishwasher was humming, a gentle, hypnotic rhythm. The kind that filled silence just enough to keep you from hearing yourself think. She was lying. It wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. But it was the first time I admitted it to myself. I'm Cal Monroe, 38. Systems architect and digital forensic consultant for a firm that contracts with both the government and private entities. I spend my days combing through corrupted databases, flagging anomalies, recovering deleted files, tracking threats that hide inside patterns. Most people think cybersecurity is about walls and firewalls, but it's not. It's about footprints, patterns, shadows. I'd always prided myself on separating work from home, but suddenly, I realized the same tools I used to catch hackers could be used to trace something far more personal. That night, while Harper slept beside me, her body curled toward the edge of the bed like she was already halfway gone. I opened our shared cloud storage. Just a routine check, I told myself. Nothing invasive, just curious. The first thing I noticed was her recently deleted folder. Not empty. In fact, not even close. Dozens of articles. PDFs, screenshots, titles like "How to Approach Your Partner About Ethical Non-Monogamy," "Relationship Anarchy," "The Future of Love," "Breaking Free from Possessive Thinking." I read them all, every word, not because I believed in them, but because I needed to understand the battlefield. Harper hadn't asked me to be a part of this new paradigm of hers. She was making speeches about freedom and evolution, all while building a secret world. One where I was the outdated relic, a placeholder husband, a sweet, supportive partner that looked good on TikTok thumbnails and in captions. I copied every deleted file to my own secure drive. Then I started pulling logs, location history, calendar entries, CrossFit check-ins. The more I looked, the more the patterns screamed. Book club nights that never matched Lena's records. Gym sessions logged at 7 p.m. with photos posted at 10:30. Work dinners that coincided perfectly with Tyson Creed's Instagram stories. Him and Harper in the background, blurry but unmistakable, at some upscale downtown bar. She wasn't hiding well. She thought I wasn't watching. But watching is what I do best. A week later, I met Nina Creed for the first time. Tyson's wife. I'd always thought she was cold, sharp-tongued, standoffish. A high-powered family law attorney who rarely came to social gatherings, and when she did, barely said more than 5 words. But that morning, as she sat across from me at a quiet corner table in a cafe on the edge of town, she looked like something else entirely. Not cold, just contained. "Thanks for meeting me," she said. "No pleasantries, no chit-chat. Let's not waste time." She opened her leather briefcase and pulled out a tablet. "I'm going to be direct, Cal. Our spouses are having an affair. I have evidence. A lot of it." I didn't speak, just nodded. She swiped through screen after screen. Hotel bills, restaurant charges, surveillance footage from the gym. phone records, timestamps that lined up with the very same discrepancies I'd been logging. "You're thorough," I said. "I'm an attorney," she replied. "Catching liars is my day job." There was a silence then, charged, full of unsaid things. We were two people sitting at the edge of the same crater, trying to map out where the explosion had started. "I assume you've started collecting your own data?" she asked. I nodded. "Files, GPS logs, social accounts, deleted texts. I've got an image backup of her iPad. She leaves it unlocked." Her lips curled. "They always do. They think they're invincible." "Are you planning to confront him?" "I'm planning to dismantle him," she said calmly. "But I want to do it right, which is why I wanted to talk to you." A beat. "What do you want, Cal?" That question stayed with me, because until that moment I hadn't been sure. Did I want to save my marriage? Destroy hers? Embarrass Harper publicly? Expose her to her thousands of loyal followers? No. What I wanted was clarity. I wanted her mask to fall, and I wanted her to feel, just for one moment, the same sick twist in the gut I'd been living with for weeks. So Nina and I agreed. We'd build the case together. Strategically. Legally. We weren't going to make noise. We were going to make impact. The weeks that followed blurred into one long sequence of screens and secrets. I set up passive monitoring. No keyloggers, nothing illegal. Just access points she'd already left open. Syncs from devices she never logged out of. I watched her search for open marriage forums while she sat across from me at the dinner table, her face lit up by the blue glow of her phone. I watched Tyson comment on her TikToks, always careful to stay subtle. Fire emojis, deep stuff, so wise. I watched them like a hawk watches field mice, silent, calculating, patient. Every day, more lies. Every night, more documentation. The ring light became a signal. Whenever it clicked on, I knew another performance was about to begin. One afternoon, I pulled up her workshop registration forms. She'd started charging for exclusive Zoom seminars on transcending monogamy. In the files, I found a draft of a new presentation. Modern relationships. Transparency as a tool for expansion. I almost laughed. I added the file to the folder I'd labeled simply, Exposure. The night before the live stream, the one where I stepped into her shot and asked about Tyson, I sat in my office and stared at my monitors. It looked like a control center. Multiple feeds, folders, timestamps. Evidence in color-coded subfolders. I could have launched a federal investigation with the data I'd compiled. But I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was ready. Because some betrayals deserve silence. And some deserve an audience. There's a moment in every performance when the mask slips. A split second when the actor forgets their lines, the spotlight exposes the sweat, and the audience sees something raw underneath. For Harper, that moment came 20 seconds after I said Tyson's name on her live stream. She tried to end the video, but her fingers were shaking. She fumbled with the buttons like a novice, not the poised influencer she pretended to be. The comments poured in faster than she could delete them. Her ring light, still glowing like an interrogation lamp, cast every tremble in merciless clarity. I walked out before she said another word. Not because I was done, but because I knew it had just begun. The next morning, she didn't speak to me. She didn't have to. Her phone did it for her, buzzing with notifications every 10 seconds. Emails, DMs, TikTok comments, texts from friends and followers. And just like that, the narrative she had carefully crafted over the past year, the evolved woman, the wise relationship coach, the modern love expert, began to fracture. Publicly, rapidly, irrevocably. It didn't take long for someone to upload a screen recording of the live stream. Then someone clipped it. Then someone added commentary. Modern love guru gets exposed live by her own husband. Within 12 hours, her name was trending in every niche relationship and gossip forum within 500 miles. By dinner, she'd lost over 10,000 followers. By midnight, people were asking for refunds to her upcoming workshops. I watched from the sidelines, sipping tea like a war general surveying the first fires of a siege. She still hadn't said a word to me. She barely looked up from her phone. That night, she slept in the guest room. I didn't ask why. I already knew. 2 days later came her scheduled workshop at the community center. The flyer had been posted weeks ago. Love Without Limits. Building Transparent Modern Relationships. Hosted by Harper Dale. I showed up early. Front row. Left side. The kind of spot you can't ignore. I watched her walk in wearing that same blue top again. Ironic, considering it had practically become the symbol of her deception. Her face was powdered heavier than usual, lips painted into a smile that barely held its shape. She saw me. She hesitated. Then she pressed forward, like a performer too deep in the play to break character. "Welcome, everyone," she said. "Today we're going to talk about how to create safety and trust in relationships that challenge the status quo." The hypocrisy didn't even sting anymore. It was almost fascinating. Like watching a magician insist the rabbit isn't in the hat even while the ears are poking out. Half the room had seen the video. The other half had heard about it. And all of them were waiting for the moment. Came faster than I expected. Her voice cracked just slightly during the introduction. Then I raised my hand. "Yes," she said, feigning brightness. "In your experience," I asked, "when's the right time to tell your partner you want an open relationship? Before or after you've already started sleeping with someone else?" The room went still. The kind of still that lives inside a gasp. Some people turned toward me. Others turned to her. A few took out their phones, quietly, instinctively. She began. "That's a nuanced question." And then, from the back of the room, another voice cut in. "Cool. Measured. Sharp." "I can answer that," said Dr. Sloan Avery, a licensed therapist Harper often quoted in her videos. I hadn't known she'd be attending, but apparently, even professionals enjoy watching a slow-motion implosion. "Ethical non-monogamy," Dr. Avery said, "begins with honesty. If deception is involved, it's not polyamory, it's just cheating with new vocabulary." Harper's expression didn't change, but her hands clutched her note cards like they were driftwood in a flood. "I think we should take a break," she mumbled. 5 minutes. But the break didn't save her. The room buzzed with murmurs, pointed glances, and muffled phone pings. She tried to rally when we resumed, tried to steer the discussion back toward theory, psychology, the importance of communication. But the mask was already gone. No one was listening to her words anymore. They were listening to the silence between them. The next domino fell at the neighborhood barbecue. It was supposed to be a casual summer send-off. Beer, burgers, kids in the yard, adults making small talk about HOA fees and lawn maintenance. But instead, it became the stage for the final act. Tyson showed up alone at first, Harper trailing behind him 10 minutes later. She tried to play it cool. Light laughter, airy hellos. But people were already watching, already whispering, already scrolling through their phones, checking for the latest updates. Then Nina arrived, impeccably dressed, calm, precise. She made no announcement, no drama. She simply walked up to the center of the yard, pulled out her phone, and held it up. "This," she said, "is footage from the gym parking lot. Tuesday night. That's Tyson's truck. And that's Harper. Recognize the dress, Harper? The one you said you wore to your book club?" Harper went pale. Tyson started to speak. Nina raised a finger and shut him down. "I have hotel receipts, restaurant bills, even a little footage from the waterfront hotels back in trance, courtesy of a friend in private security. Shall I share?" Silence. I stepped forward, phone in hand, calm, steady. "And here," I said, "are screenshots from Harper's shared iCloud, including draft emails to Tyson, workshop notes with fake timelines, and some delightful Google searches. How to tell your husband you've been polyamorous without telling him." People were recording. They weren't even trying to hide it. Neighbors, former workshop attendees, even a few of Harper's TikTok fans who had once traveled from out of town to attend her sessions in person. "You built a whole brand on transparency," I said, keeping my voice level. "And here's your chance to live it." Tyson looked like he wanted to disappear. Nina gave him no room. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer," she said coolly. "Oh, and Cal? You've got a great one too." "Thanks," I said. She recommended yours. That got a few gasps, a few chuckles, and then the crowd started to disperse, leaving Harper in the middle of the yard, frozen under a sun that suddenly felt far too bright. Her phone buzzed with notifications she could no longer silence. By the time the divorce proceedings started, her brand was in free fall. Sponsors pulled out. Platforms shadow-banned her content. People demanded refunds for her workshops. Her followers turned on her. Some furious, some heartbroken, all disillusioned. I didn't have to scream. I didn't even have to chase revenge. I just exposed the truth and let it do the rest. The divorce wasn't dramatic. It was surgical, efficient, precise, and cold, the way a seasoned professional extracts a tumor they've already mapped from every angle. Nina sat beside me at the long, polished conference table, her charcoal suit as sharp as her focus. Across from us, Harper's new lawyer, a younger man named Reed, shifted nervously in his seat, clearly realizing he was outgunned. "This is a copy of the prenup," Nina said, sliding the document forward. Section 8. 2 outlines provisions in the case of infidelity. As you can see, we've included annotated evidence, timestamps, financial records, and video documentation to support the claim. Harper didn't say a word. She hadn't spoken to me directly since the barbecue. Her makeup was perfect again, but there was something brittle about it now. A mask that had already cracked once and was trying, desperately, to hold its shape. Reed flipped through the folder. Ms. Dale was exploring alternatives. There's a distinction between infidelity and evolving relationship models. Nina cut him off before I could open my mouth. There's no distinction when only one partner is evolving. If Cal hadn't caught her, would she have told him? Would she have invited him into the conversation? Or just kept posting about transparent love while lying to his face? Reed looked to Harper for help. She stared down at her hands. "I was going to tell him," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "I just needed the right moment." "That moment," I said quietly, "was before the hotel rooms." Silence stretched. The final settlement was exactly what the prenup dictated. I kept the house, most of the savings. Harper kept the car and her dwindling accounts. She'd already lost 2 sponsorships by the time we signed the papers, and the third dropped her the following week when the footage from the workshop leaked. She never contested the evidence. How could she? She'd filmed most of it herself. The day she moved out, I stood in the hallway watching the last of her boxes get carried away. She didn't look at me, not once, just walked past. Eyes forward, jaw tight, like a tourist fleeing a city after an earthquake, hoping to forget the way the buildings crumbled around her. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She was already haunted by every word I hadn't said. A month later, Nina and I met for coffee again. Not as co-strategists, but as 2 people quietly trying to rebuild what had been broken. She'd filed her own papers the week after the barbecue. Tyson had gone radio silent. His real estate business was tanking. 3 clients pulled out in 2 days, citing ethical concerns. One of them sent Nina flowers with a handwritten note. "We stand with you." We talked that day for hours. Not about revenge. Not about Harper or Tyson. About books. Music. The strange relief that follows the collapse of a long lie. We didn't start anything then. We weren't rushing toward each other like some scripted rebound romance. We just sat there, 2 people who had seen the machinery behind the curtain, choosing to stop performing. 6 months passed. Then one night I met Caroline. She was Nina's friend. An editor, thoughtful and direct, with an uncanny ability to ask exactly the right question and say exactly nothing she didn't mean. We met at a book launch, talked about everything but what had happened, felt honest. Not because we avoided the truth, but because there was no angle, no image to uphold, no agenda. It was the first time I didn't feel like I was in a security briefing, calculating every possible threat before saying a single word. With her, I didn't need surveillance, only conversation. In the spring, Caroline moved in. No announcement, no ring light, just a quiet shift. A toothbrush beside mine, mugs in new places, shelves filling with books I hadn't read yet. One night, we sat on the porch watching the sun set behind Mrs. Chang's rose bushes. She said the roses are blooming better this year than ever, Caroline murmured, sipping her tea. She thinks it's the pruning, that sometimes, to make room for growth, you have to cut things back harder than you think is safe. I nodded. I understood that now more than ever. Harper tried to make a comeback. Briefly, she posted a tearful video about growth and healing, hinting that she'd been misunderstood. It didn't land. The comments were brutal. She taught modern love while lying to her husband. She weaponized vulnerability. Transparency is not a TikTok filter. She deleted the video after 24 hours. Last I heard, she'd moved in with her sister in Oregon, changed her username, tried to start a wellness blog under a pseudonym. But the internet doesn't forget. Every time she tried to rebrand, someone would recognize her. The past would claw its way back through hashtags and cached pages. Tyson disappeared entirely. Rumor had it he'd fled to Arizona, trying to start some kind of mindful real estate retreat center. Failed. No one wants to buy property from a punchline. 5 years later, Caroline published a book called Digital Deception: How Social Media Distorts Modern Love. She dedicated it to me. For Cal, who reminded me that truth doesn't need a spotlight, just space to breathe. Merle, Nina's former partner, went on to become one of the country's most sought-after experts in digital evidence and divorce litigation. She runs workshops now. Always includes a case study called The Ring Light Incident. Everyone knows who it's about. No one says it out loud. I still walk past the old gym sometimes. It's a yoga studio now. The mirror where Harper and Tyson used to sneak glances at each other is still there. But now it reflects people learning balance, breathing in rhythm, healing in quiet. Caroline and I didn't throw a big wedding. We married in Mrs. Chang's garden. Just close friends, soft music, and roses in full bloom. I remember standing there, holding Caroline's hand, thinking, this is what honesty feels like. Not a performance, not a sermon, just two people who had seen the cost of deception and chosen something better, something real.